and welcome to another Carnival Fried and Butter Whip Dipped
We're all gonna
episode.
die. We're all gonna die.
We're all gonna die.
I think my blood pressure went up 20 points just listening to those words.
That's what's going to happen, and that's fine. That's all well and good because it's a special event. It's special because you're at the carnival, okay? And then if you just save up those coupons, you make it worth your time.
Ooh, yeah.
There it is. That's what's important. Soundboards are important. Okay, so let's take. You know what, friend? It's been 1 week since. No, we're not going to do that. But what we are going to do is take advantage of what's here on the table, and that is this soundboard. We haven't really taken the time to really fully investigate this, so I just want to...
I want my wife back!
I don't know.
That's what I want!
That's kind of what I want. It's kind of what I feel like right now. This is your first time.
Okay.
I'm handing over the reins here.
Oh, boy.
Let me see what you have. Let me see what you have there.
To get in the habit of, picking up a book, learning how to write my feelings down. Not my feelings, but my thoughts about things.
Dude, you know what? That's why I'm such a Corey fan. He gets it. And when you're just waltzing around through your day and you get these like awesome thoughts about things, not necessarily feelings, but thoughts about things, you want to jot that down.
And that's why this show is not only Midlife Krisis, it is also AKA a Corey Haim fan club.
It is a Corey Haim appreciation vehicle, if nothing else. And we're very proud of that fact here at the program. Okay, so as you tour this wonderful soundboard, which once again, shout out to the wonderful Prince. Now he made a real splash. He made a huge splash on the last several programs that we've done. Sadly, he couldn't make it. He couldn't get out on work release, unfortunately.
Trying to get to be the older brother or the only brother.
He is the older brother and did eventually work his way into that only brother spot. Now, as you look at this wonderful device that has literally changed the way we entertain.
Change our lives.
For the better. It's 100% changed our lives. For the better. Do you have any Corey-specific questions about this? Perhaps origin? I don't know if I can give you 100% of the truthful and right answers, but we can try. You can maybe hit one of those, and I'll take a guess as to where it comes from.
There was a big prop room and water guns. It was just a fun atmosphere.
Okay, so water guns and a fun atmosphere. That could be literally anything that he's ever worked on ever in his entire career. But if I had to take a stab at this, I will say that's got to be from Me, Myself, and I, the Corey Haim apology tape.
Is it an apology tape?
Oh,
You
yeah.
know what? It's
Did
time
we?
for me to go home. This is enough. I've had enough.
Look, it's never enough when it comes to Corey Haim. I thought we talked about that the Corey Haim apology tape on one of these episodes. If we have, I do apologize because I am going to talk about it a little more. My sister, big Corey fan, which made me a Corey fan, older sister. Not to be confused with older brother. If you could hit me with that. Oh.
Trying to get to be the older brother or the only brother.
So, my sister was a big Corey's fan, as you always.
We all were.
We all were. But she at our local video store, there was a tape there that was this. It was Corey Haim, Me, Myself, and I. It's on YouTube. It is on YouTube in its entirety. Mm-hmm. I highly recommend you capture it in perpetuity on VHS.
I watched it twice. How many times have you watched it, Brian?
Oh my God, I've seen that thing so many times. Like borderline illegal amount of times.
It's you know what? I bet, and I mean this honestly, you've seen that tape more than anybody else in America.
I will.
Who else would be competing against you?
I will take that badge of honor.
Thank
you very much.
Watched it more than anybody else in America.
There might be some truth to it. A runner-up would be my older sister, who rented it at the time as a real Corey fan. But as the story goes, so this the facade was cracking. Of course, you and I both know, and of course the fine people out there sadly know that Corey Haim absolutely had his demons, as the professional wrestling business has us describe drug addiction. But what happened was way early on in his career, he had done some slip-ups, and this was like a PR, like a turnaround that apparently like his PR team or whoever. So probably his mom. His mom was the one that suggested it.
They show the softer side of you.
Yeah. And they go and they film Corey like being good at hockey, being good at tennis, being good at baseball, being good at basketball,
Being introspective.
being being introspective, being a stellar musician, and then in between all these scenes of him like just being like good, there's interview footage where he talks about like things like wanting to be the only brother, and then there's footage of him in a pool like floating around on a gator.
Oh, I remember that.
Oh yeah, classic stuff. And then that's it. And it's like 45 minutes long. It was a financial venture.
Yeah.
They made and produced this and sold it. But it was supposed to be like this damage control thing.
Cool.
And,
Did it control the damage?
as far as we're talking about it right now. So I mean, obviously,
Ooh, yeah.
there it is. See, you're already you're letting your skill shine through. That's what soundboards do.
Yeah.
They allow us to be who we really are on the inside. So I mean that's gonna do it here on this episode of Corey Haim Talk.
Another great content.
I agree. No, we are gathered here today to celebrate the release of the Monster Hunter Wilds beta that's just come out. I've played it on 2 platforms now. You and I, and this is by design because I wanted this to be as fresh and as big natch as possible when we talk about this.
Okay.
But you and I have not talked about the game, how you've been playing it, what your experience has been like at all.
Yep.
And we're going to dive into that
Okay.
right now. So before we jump into the thick of this thing, tell me your experience with it and initial impressions. Go!
Sure. I played it. Downloaded the beta. I only played one session. I played with 2 of my friends very late Friday night, 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, something like that. And pretty positive. Now, this is coming from a person who has never played. Are we doing things?
You know what? Don't you worry. All I've done is I've taken this soundboard and I have turned it.
Nothing bad can happen.
Nothing bad can happen. I just want you to put your full-blown trust in me and know that I will not make you look foolish using this soundboard.
Okay, well, if there's anything that's ever happened in the 30 years of our friendship, Brian, it's you pointing out my foolishness.
See, that was all positivity. That's all that was. Anyway, Monster Hunter Wilds beta, go.
So I played with 2 friends. We played on PC. That was our platform. And we talk about this a little bit later, but I actually am sort of platform conflicted on this game. I'm not sure what I should be playing it on. I know I'm buying the game. I just don't know what platform I'm going to play it on.
Yep.
But I was playing on PC. That was just the easiest for the beta. And having never played a Monster Hunter game before, it was pretty fun. Turns out killing giant monsters
Yeah,
with
it
friends
definitely turns out indeed.
yeah, is a really good time. Now, if you had told me about Monster Hunter before, maybe I would have played this before. But since we've never talked about this ever, this is my first experience with this game. This is going to be such a long episode.
Yeah, it is.
The one hang up I will say, though, is that one of the friends we were playing with, I can't remember, I don't know what her hardware was, but she had significant technical difficulties. And bizarrely, we were talking on Discord, and she couldn't even talk to us on Discord while playing the game. She was having lag spikes and lag problems, and also just significant stuttering in the game,
right,
on top of other graphical anomalies that I was experiencing. And she just, every time we went into a fight, she actually dropped out of the combat and then dropped out of the party altogether. So I hope they fix that in the next 2 months.
Yeah.
But the actual game that we were playing, the gameplay was great.
So we're playing this thing on the Xbox. I downloaded it on Xbox and PS5. More on that in a minute. But the Prince and I tried one morning and failed to try to brute force our way into a multiplayer setup. And a couple of things happened that were definitely like janky beta results, essentially.
Yeah.
So, for example, like we could see that we were in the same lobby, and then there's like a link party thing.
Yeah.
And he could see my avatar and like see all other people in the world, but then in my world there was nothing, like other than like the whatever NPCs that are just there. And then after a couple attempts at joining a quest, that flip-flopped, and so that I could see him and he could no longer see me.
And you're on the same platform, right?
Yeah, and we're on the same platform. So I'll say this about the Xbox version, and then when I talk a little bit more about the PS5 version, we'll break it down there. But I'm fine either way because I love Monster Hunter, and Monster Hunter Rise specifically for Switch made me the convert that I am today. Tried many times and failed to get into the series before, but that was the game that really stuck with me. So that game runs at 1080p, 30 frames. Like, it's a great looking Switch game, but it's not by no means is it up to modern snuff. Is that the right word? We'll say snuff or stuff.
Yeah,
we'll figure that out.
It's not a modern snuff game.
Yeah, it's certainly not. Well, I mean, monsters are brutally dealt with.
Right.
So anyway, I come into Monster Hunter with that. Like, I played a not super technically impressive version of a Monster Hunter game. So the performance issues that I'm seeing, it's not fully disappointing to me because like that's my baseline. But then when I went and played the PS5 version and it ran a little bit better and it was like, oh no, this is what it could look like. Then it was like, well, okay. So the Xbox version had a lot of issues. Now, granted, I played it in the morning of the first full day. Okay. So I think it came out the evening of Halloween, October 31st, which as we record was this past Thursday. And then the next full day was the first day of the beta, and I played that morning. So it could have been that the servers were just crushed, whatever mini beta things that are going to beta.
It was a popular game on Steam, especially. Yeah, it was like 400,000 people just on Steam alone.
Oh, so I didn't even look at those stats.
Yeah.
It's like almost 500,000 people played that game.
It was very similar to what Helldivers was at the peak of Helldivers.
Okay.
But I mean, this is for a 3-day beta.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty big deal.
Well, so Monster Hunter Worlds, not confusing at all. The older game,
Wilds Rise.
That's fine. But Worlds was of that first really, really big breakthrough game in the series, and that game was super popular and is mentioned among the small core group of games that have kept Capcom not only afloat but like profitable and like among like the top tier of third-party developer and publishers. So it's a big deal now, so it doesn't surprise me at all that people are obviously really, really excited about this. So long-winded way to say, I'm not super worried at this point about what the final version is going to play like. And the fact that there is all this cross-platform stuff, I'm in the same boat. Like, for me, the conflict is, should I get this on PlayStation? Should I get this on Xbox? I'm nudging more towards PlayStation because it does do some of the DualSense features, which is, if that's there, I'm going to take it.
Yeah, why not?
Because why not? Yeah, exactly. I like it when companies do it, so I will reward that with my attention.
If you can be assured that the technical performance is similar between the platforms, and one of the platforms gives you bonus controller features, why wouldn't you just use that platform?
I'll be real truthful with you though when I say this. Like, I am totally. I'm worried about the promise of crossplay because it's such a. I've been looking forward to play this game so much with the Prince. We've been talking about it basically since we finished like the Sunbreak DLC on Rise. So if it's at all crappy, like if I'm playing on PS5 and he's playing on Xbox, I will give up and I will buy this game twice. I don't want that to happen though. I do not want something like that to happen, but I'm prepared to do it.
So when I was playing on PC, and I guess it would be the same thing for you because we're playing the same game. And tell me if this is how it was on the prior games, but you have to invite somebody to your party, and that brings them sort of into your server, something like that. Mm-hmm. And then separately from that, there's another setting for the environment. It's like you create a group, and then you create an environment, and then they have to join you in the environment.
So, okay. To answer your question, I don't fully know. But this is a perfect segue.
Does that answer the question, Brian?
This is a perfect segue into what I lovingly refer to as the Monster Hunter difference. So there are things about this game that I do think, and I'm curious to see what you, as we have this discussion, to see where you lie. But it's very hard for people to approach this game and get into this game because of just how fucking insanely convoluted the menus are, like how to find certain things. Like it's seemingly like the organization of the menus themselves feel like it's just someone like rolling dice and attaching like numbers to different settings and like, oh, we'll figure this out. But like, here's the thing about that is that overall the game demands a ton of its players, and not only in this menu garbage that we're talking about, but also in the gameplay. And so like I've kind of grown to appreciate this stuff, but then if you fall out of it and look, could this be better? Yeah, obviously. Like, yes, 100 times. Yes, there's better ways to organize this stuff. But for whatever reason, Monster Hunter has chosen this, and it's like very much like a call. Like, you need to come to our level to get into So there's a little bit of investment in that I think just adds to the overall experience. But like inarguably, it's like super messy and not elegant and fucking stupid. But it's all a part of it.
Okay, so it's 2024, and my expectation is that we would have figured out how to do multiplayer gaming, how to get people together to play multiplayer games, because so many different developers and so many different publishers have that as a priority item.
Yeah,
we want you to be able to play with your friends because it's just a more engaging experience when you're playing with your friends. We want to make that easy for you, and yet time and time again, we saw this with Helldivers. Helldivers to this day has a bug where you cannot see people who are online on other platforms. And this is now 8 months, 10 months since the game came out. It's ridiculous. And now, at least a little bit I played at the Monster Hunter experience, it is not, let's say, intuitive and user-friendly to be able to take two people who are on your Steam friends list and you're friends with and just say, hey guys, come play this game with me.
Well, and the other thing too is like we haven't even begun. As we're having this discussion, we're talking about like, oh, what platform do I want to play this game on? Yeah. Imagine the nightmare that is going to be connecting with friends, doing all that stuff.
Yeah.
The print, I haven't read it yet, but because we just haven't had enough time during this beta to play together. But the Prince emailed me this link that is like someone did the work and wrote like, this is how you play this game multiplayer. Follow these 31 steps. And Rise was exactly like that too. Although this one does seem to be, there's maybe like 1 to 14 additional steps that they've added. But when Rise was really similar, and this takes us way back to like 20, I want to say end of 2020, maybe really early 2021. But there was if you remember this, there was a Monster Hunter Rise beta that came out on the Switch that you, me, a couple other people, we all downloaded it.
Yeah.
Do you remember like how I had played it first and I was trying to like explain to the group of people that were playing with like the basics, and I basically just took like a deep breath and then like the Micro Machines guy from Galoob just rapid fired as much information as I possibly could, and then when I was done I was like, I'm not repeating any of that. So figure this out.
I just like don't get, and it's not unique to any particular platform, Sony or Microsoft or Nintendo. Nintendo probably does it the best if you're already in their ecosystem.
Yeah.
But that's because so many of their games are Nintendo only. You don't have to worry about cross-platform. And then Steam in the last few years has come out with, I forgot what they call it, but they make it so that you can play any multiplayer game fairly easily by just even games that weren't made for it, by just inviting people who are on your Steam friends list. But this game in particular, and again, we're just talking about a beta here, and I'm largely positive about the game, but this stuff, this is what I expect them to be able to figure out, because this is actually one of my complaints about Nintendo. Nintendo routinely gets the hard part right. Mm-hmm. The hard part being designing a good game, having good gameplay.
Yes.
That is a really difficult thing to do, and they do it masterfully almost every time.
Mm-hmm.
Then they screw up the easy part, menu systems and online connectivity and things like that. Things that you should have the infrastructure for, and you can just cut and paste in almost every game, so it's the same experience. That's the same thing here. I had a wonderful time with the gameplay of Monster Hunter. It was great. Getting to that point, and this is their fourth game, so they should have figured it out by now, was a little bit of a chore.
Had to.
Yes. So it's just like, okay, we're in the game. What do we do to get our friends to come play with us? Oh, there's a thing where you have to like create a group and you invite people to that, and then they have to see it. And it's like, okay, well, we're all in the same group now, so let's go, guys. Where are you at? Oh, we still can't see each other. There's a separate setting for it being in the same environment. Why does it require two? Who the hell knows? But then it's like, then after that, then it's like, okay, we're fine. We're all together. We can see each other. We can interact. Let's go kill the monster. And we go to kill the monster, and then one of us drops out.
That exactly happened to us as well. It was like we finally put all the pieces together. Then we were doing our Doom ride out to go murder some
Doom ride.
Yeah, like,
Wider.
Yeah, exactly. To go murder some poor innocent creature. And then when we finally got to it, one of us dropped out, and that was when we quit. We're like, now you know what? We're gonna put a pin in this.
It's funny though because like I've been playing. I've recently sort of forsworn off playing early access games and betas in general for this exact reason.
Yeah.
Because it's like there's so many games out there and so many of them are already done. I need to play those games that are at least in a finished state. Last thing I want to do is play an early access game that's half complete and then has bugs, even if it's a high profile early access game, and then have to go back later on and then play the full version of it, the complete version of it. I think the last time we recorded, I talked about the advantage of waiting on Cyberpunk.
Yeah, yes.
Because it's like, well, they fixed all the bugs now, and there's a DLC, and this is the game that they intended to make all along. All I had to do was wait 4 years for it to get into this thing. Just a hop, skip, and a jump. So I really don't want to do that with Monster Hunter. And this is, I forgot the episode that we did when we talked about like timing, timing episode. So Monster Hunter is going to come out, and it's like, well, do you play Monster Hunter on day one? The answer is yes. You're playing on day one. I'm playing it on day one. But there are some bugs in the game.
Yeah.
And the bugs are not that insignificant right now. Are they going to fix those in the next 2 months to make it a great experience? Well, I'm not going to wait. So I'm kind of rolling the dice here, and I'm assuming that they are. I'm sure that it'll be a better experience playing in 2026 than it will be playing in 2025.
Yes.
But who wants to wait for that? You've been telling me to play Monster Hunter games for about 4 years.
It's been a minute, yeah.
So, I'm ready to jump on this bandwagon, and we're gonna try it out. It's just a little. It feels dicey, I guess.
Yeah.
That there might be some risk associated with trying it out this way.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And going back, an earlier point you made about like how inaccessible the multiplayer stuff is. Yeah, like I won't argue any of that stuff because it does suck. It's stupid. Like it should be like system level. Like Xbox can do it, Sony can do it, Steam can do it. Just like invite me to your party. I'll invite you to mine, whatever. And now we're playing this game, and that should be as simple as that. So no argument there. But now I will put a divider page here and explain my fondness for the rest of these terrible menus. It's not unlike another game series that I talk about incessantly that has also like captivated the gamer space for. Hold on, I gotta pay for that on my own. I said gamer space and I don't appreciate that. Apologies to the whirly bird above us if that is in fact being caught here. I'll say that. I'll say that. But okay. There's a certain... Okay, I'm talking about the Souls series. And those menus are also kind of dumb. They're not as dumb as Monster Hunter, but they're pretty close. It's like a case point 1, case point 2. They're similar. Yeah. Once you play enough Demon Souls, like everything becomes second nature to you. And Monster Hunter is the same. Like I devoted 300 and some hours of my life to playing Monster Hunter Rise, right? And I regret 0 of it. Yeah. By the time I got to like hour 100, I knew everything, how to do everything in the back of my hand. And like some of it, I probably would never say like, this is my preferred way to design, but a lot of it did. I kind of saw the genius in the madness, and only through repetition did I find that. And also same thing with the Souls games. Like when I very first played Demon Souls 1 on PS3 and I tried to pause the game and then I realized, oh, that's not a thing you can do here. Cool. I will die if I pause this game. It's like a real big come to Jesus kind of moment. And Monster Hunter
This is what this game is about.
Exactly.
It's about you dying.
And I'll repeat it, like the playing, meeting up to the game's terms to be able to play it. I think that this game does that better maybe than any other series that I've ever played. And when you go through that experience and you give of yourself, what Monster Hunter is asking, there's nothing else like it. And I think it is kind of all part of the experience. So that being said, let's dive a little bit into gameplay. I have questions I want to ask you about what you think about it, and then hopefully you have some questions that I can illuminate you on here. So let's just jump into it. Tell me what are your thoughts about the gameplay, all the quirks, all the shit about it. Go.
High barrier to entry is what it felt like to me. It's describing what sounds like combo systems to get hits on the animals. And the weapon types are incredibly varied. That's cool. But
it's very fighting game-esque. It's like the weapon is a character in a fighting game, and you've got to learn everything about it and how the movements work, how the buttons work, all that shit.
Well, fighting games are not my preferred genre, Brian, for several reasons. And one of them is because it's just difficult to memorize the combos.
Yeah.
And now, I guess it's new to this Monster Hunter, but now you can have a secondary weapon.
Yes.
So you can actually switch weapons in combat.
Yes.
And so that gives you, it doubles the amount of stuff that you have to memorize. So that was difficult. I first chose the charged sword, I think was the first weapon that I tried, and hated it. And then I chose dual sickles or something, dual blades.
Yeah, dual blades. That's one of my main weapons in Monster Hunter games.
I like that a lot better. That felt certainly better, and it felt like, well, if I can get used to this, then I could have a better time with the gameplay.
Let me jump in here real quick. How did you feel about this being an action game that you're playing in 2024 and you don't have like a real like focused like lock on to your target?
I dealt with it okay. I think there was. It told me I thought there was a button setting where you can kind of focus on it, but you don't lock on.
So yeah, I misspoke. Yes, there is in the game they call a focus, but there is no lock on.
Right.
So yeah, in an action game, in every action game ever for like the last, I don't know, like 15, 20 years, you can lock on to something and sit there and attack it. Yeah. And in Monster Hunter, like that's a part of the sauce, is that you can't lock onto these things, and so you've got to be really good at attacking and moving the camera at the same time. It's another, you said it yourself, like high barrier of entry, but it's another thing that when it clicks with you, you're like, holy shit, this feels rewarding.
That part of it I actually dealt with okay.
Yeah.
The hard part was just the mastering the weapon combinations and then switching between weapons and then learning a weapon that I actually like. And then also somewhat Souls-esque, when you use a slower item, you get stuck in an animation, and then maybe the creatures are trying to attack you or something. So there's kind of an inherent frustration when you're trying to like learn how to do these combinations, and then you push the wrong button, and your guy starts swinging up a big, like a big hit, and then the monster actually attacks you while you're in the middle of your swing.
It's rule number one of Monster Hunter is absolutely tell your friends about Monster Hunter. But rule number two is you can't button mash in this game. Like it's just not a thing that you can do at all.
Yeah, as I am learning. So that actually is the frustrating part, and that's why when I switched to the sickles or the dual blades, it was better because there's no big animations with those because they're just light attacks most of the time. So anyway, that's been my experience with the gameplay. I mean, not a ton of it. I just played through mostly the prologue.
Yeah,
liked what I played. Can see the potential of it, particularly in with groups and in multiplayer. But it was not without an obvious barrier to entry.
Yeah, there's but again, to me, it's part of the magic. There's certainly a lot of games where if I'm presented to that high wall, like I will be like, nah, it's just not a thing for me. For whatever reason, the reason was like I am a fucking giant Japanese video games dork, so I've wanted to play and get into a Monster Hunter game for forever.
Yeah.
But I tried multiple times and it just never clicked until it finally clicked. And I think Capcom has done a good job of keeping all the stuff that makes it unique, which is a lot of this high barrier to entry stuff, the weird menus, like the fact that you have to like literally like track monsters and stuff like that. One thing that so you mentioned the being able to have two main weapons. That is a really awesome change and a big deal. In Rise, what really made me fall in love with that game was the wire bug, the zip wire. I think it was called zip wire or whatever. But it was basically a grappling hook, and like that's in the prologue in like a movie. But as you run around and fight in the normal game, like I haven't seen that.
I haven't seen it.
I really hope that's a thing that's in the game.
It's still in the game.
Yeah, really hope it's still in the game. Monster Hunter World didn't have that stuff, but this brings back the pets that you ride from Rise, which the added mobility really makes this game that much better. What did you think about the aesthetic, like the graph? Like, I mean, it was kind of running like shit, but like all the other stuff, the look and feel of the game.
So this is such a little thing to mention, but I really liked the visual look of the menus.
Yes,
it's a weird thing to comment on in a video game, but they graphically it looked really crisp, and there's like this little kind of water rippley effect when you're kind of moving around.
You're a man who played Aerobiz. You appreciate a good menu, and there's not anything wrong with that.
Well, and it's one of the ways that like we kind of come together a little bit, because when we talked about Kojima, I think one of the things you said was you like menus.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, Metal Gear Solid 3, it's like, man, whoa, what a beautiful set of menus. My God.
We're both super psyched for Death Stranding 2. You're gonna look at those menus.
Nice menus.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So that I liked, and it was just a nice like you're entering into a world.
Yeah.
There's high expectations. My friends, and not just you. This game has been recommended to me by several people, including our editor Wondermundo.
Yep.
So I'm thinking like, okay, fine, like, let's do it. And the first thing you see is a menu, but it looks really good. I was like, all right, man, yeah, let's do this. I'm ready. And then I have all my graphics like cranked up. This is the first time I have a 4090. This is the first game that has ever dipped below 60 frames per second with all my settings maxed out on my 4090. My opinion is that that's because of bad optimization, and that a combination of Capcom refining the game, along with NVIDIA releasing dedicated drivers for it, that'll all probably be fixed by the time the game is released.
See, I've always, and you can speak to this more of, hands-on, but I've always heard that stuff to optimize a game's performance, frame rate, blah, 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 that stuff usually comes in like the final push of a game's development.
Yes.
Okay. So that's another reason why I'm not super worried about the performance of this stuff. I would have obviously preferred if it just like out the gate was an incredible looking game.
Well, and in recent years, it's become, for major releases, it's become basically expected that the two major video card vendors, and NVIDIA especially, will release drivers that have dedicated innovations or refinements for that particular game. And it made a big difference in Helldivers, I remember that. And the absolute expectation that I have is it's going to be the same with Monster Hunter, that the day that is released, there'll be a new NVIDIA driver comes out. And when they come out, I mean, it's not a slight bump in performance. It's usually around like 15% improvement just based on installing a new video card driver. So that's, again, why I'm not hammering the game too much for it, even though I have fallen into the trap, again, of playing a game in an unoptimized state. And it gets a little frustrating when you do that over and over again, especially when your expectations are so high. But since you asked me about the graphical presentation and all of it, it looked good. I would not say it's the bleedingest edge graphics I've ever seen. I think that's still the much maligned Hellblade 2. But I was happy with it. But the charm of the game is, I think, 100% in the gameplay, not much in the graphic performance. But those menus are very nice. Yeah,
real good looking menus. For me, it looks like Monster Hunter, which is a great thing. I didn't spend much time at all playing World. I did go back to check it out after I'd, sunk hundreds of hours into Rise. Plus, like, I think for a while, like, if you like walked outside of wherever you live, like, Capcom drove by and gave you a free copy of Monster Hunter World. That's what it feels like, at least.
Part of PlayStation Plus. It was, I think, on Game Pass at one point.
Yeah, it was everywhere. So I did check that out a little bit. Maybe did like 4 or 5 hours of it. And this game definitely looks closer to that than it does Rise, but they all kind of look together. Yeah. And I'll say this, that Capcom RE engine, I played all those Resident Evil remakes. I can't wait for 9 whenever that comes out. I think that's one of the things that is helping Capcom like stay super relevant and dominant in the video game space, is because of how good this one particular engine is. They're making Monster Hunter games on it. They've made Street Fighter on it. They've made all these Resident Evil games on it.
It's really amazing.
It's really, really, really good, and they can optimize it for the Switch, which is crazy.
Yeah, I know that too. Do you remember when, this is years ago, but we talked about in the 90s how Rare, over a period of like 4 years, released the best FPS shooter at the time in GoldenEye, then the best platformer at the time in Donkey Kong Country, and then the best fighting game at the time in Killer Instinct. And it was like, my God, you guys are just 3 different genres, and you're just releasing these like Hall of Fame games one after another in a short period of time. I've always, and especially as a former game designer myself, I've always really appreciated when developers can do that, when they're that versatile that they can create great games.
When they go on like a run of terror.
Yeah, well, they can release great games in totally different genres. You know, it'd be like listening to a rock. It'd be like Garth Brooks releasing a pop album under a fiction.
Some sort of
name.
a mismaligned pseudo personality created by the one and only American treasure Garth Brooks.
Yes, and then having that album actually be good. So here we have Capcom, a fighting game, a horror game, and this an open world. I don't know what you'd call it, an open world hunting game. Yeah. And they're all really good. The fact that they're also on the same technical engine, it's like, who the hell are these engineers who are coming up with this stuff? Because that is a pretty impressive feat to pull off if your engine is that versatile that you can create these 3 different games with it. Like, kudos to them. But that being said, I think we talked about this. So you had some of the texture problems that I had when you were playing.
Yeah,
So
and it was worse on the Xbox than it was PS5.
Okay.
The 2 main issues I had playing it on Xbox was the loading in of textures. There was also, I saw this online, I didn't experience myself, but there's like some character models, like lower enemy models that are like really low poly. So again, I'm going to throw that into it's a beta pile and deal with it come February.
I threw it into the graphics drivers will fix this thing. The texture's not loading in. We were calling it online the Play-Doh thing, where it's like you're seeing a rock formation. And it looks like a little clumps of Play-Doh.
Yeah, and just like comes back to it.
Yeah, and then they would kind of fade in, fade out, or there would be various texture resolution qualities. All of that, I assume, will be fixed with either graphics drivers or game optimization. So I was willing to give all of it a pass and just focus on what I know is not changing, which is the core gameplay.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, still got some bugs to work out, but it's still technically impressive what Capcom is able to do with one game engine across these 3 different games, and really just creating 3 different games that are at the top tier in their respective genres. So,
and what's crazy too is Capcom was like not a super long time ago. We were talking after Resident Evil 6 came out, kind of shit the bed. There's a big breaks between Street Fighter. There was a lot of talk about Capcom being, one of the things that Microsoft went and just swooped up and put in their basket. And they were really, really like I've heard the story is that it went all the way to like top dog meeting. And then at the 11th hour, Capcom was like, "No, we're not interested. We're not going to do this." Oh, yeah. And then their
Microsoft would have been really smart to do that.
Yeah,
I'm sure they wanted to go.
But it did. I mean, just as like as a lifelong fan, I've loved Capcom since their incredibly good NES games.
Mega Man 2.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So like pretty much my entire life, I've loved Capcom, and the fact that they were teetering on the edge of existence. And you brought up Rare, they could have, who knows, turned into another Kinect Adventures team or whatever. Yeah. So, but obviously that did not happen, and we are all the better for it. And yeah, they've been kind of on this tear of kicking major butt. So I'll say this: I am super duper excited to play this game. Super duper excited that we finally have ensnared you, and you'll be murdering these goddamn drug addicts. I should mention that too. The way we kind of role play within role play with Monster Hunter, we like to pretend that we are hardline straight edge warriors who are patrolling the streets and keeping them clean from these drug addicts. And it's a lot of fun. My name is very straight edge looking.
I was going to ask you about that. What kind of character you ended up making?
So my guy kind of looks like the singer of Twisted Sister and Nicolas Cage's portrayal of Longlegs.
I would expect nothing else.
Yeah, and he's wearing a hot green and hot pink leotard combo type thing. But I'll tell you what, he doesn't take any shit from junkies.
When we play together, it's going to be a wonderful juxtaposition.
I can't wait.
As my beautifully olive-skinned Latin lover who should be on the cover of a romance novel saunters up next to you.
Well, as long as you don't show me the ultimate sign of disrespect and light up a cigarette in my presence. Everything will be just peachy fine. All right, so that's going to do it here on this run of Monster Hunter Talk. Please like, subscribe, tell your friends about this show. We're on Spotify. Leave a 5-star review. It does help. Uncle Bob, is there anything you want to say? Of course.
I didn't know what I was pushing.
It's fine. I'll do this one. Combat initiated.
All right.
And then this one is from me to you. Here we go. I call that one the real Triforce.